Hi, I'm a little hippie, and today I'm going to be filming a video essay for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Where's the actual book? So, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it, I think, 3 or 4 times now. When I read the book, I first read it, I tabbed it up, and then I read it again and I tabbed it some more. So you see I have blue, which is like the tabs I did from the first read, and then I've got orange tabs in here as well, which come from my second read of this absolute masterpiece. And to make this video concise, but also to give it a little bit of structure, I'm going to be using a prompt that I Googled for an essay. So the prompt reads, I have my iPad, my handy dandy iPad. The prompt reads, so the question is, what is a good thesis statement for Frankenstein? In this case, a good video essay starter. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the creature's identity as a monster is due to societal rejection, isolation, and misinterpretation, which I agree with. And it all starts with Frankenstein himself, who created this monster. So he creates this monster from the different body parts of, uh, you know, corpses, and he kind of strings them together to create this monster. And at some point in the story, Victor says something like, as he was creating it, he realized that it was ugly, but then when it woke up, it was like horrific. I had gazed on him while unfinished. He was ugly then, but when those muscles and joints were rendered capable of motion, it became a thing such as even Dante could not have conceived. And Frankenstein was ashamed to have created something so hideous, for lack of a better term. And so this leads Frankenstein to abandon his creation, to abandon his Adam, which is what the monster calls himself. He refers to himself later in the story as Frankenstein's Adam. Remember that I am thy creature. I ought to be thy Adam, but I am rather the fallen angel whom thou drivest from joy for no misdeed. And the the loneliness that this monster feels is something I think that a lot of people can relate to, because Frankenstein was this monster's parent. This is first, and when you think about parents, they're the first people that are supposed to love you, they're supposed to take care of you, um, who you get companionship from. Babies, they, based off of the relationship that babies have with their mother in particular in their infant stages, can affect their development even later in life, into adolescence, into teenagehood, into adulthood. And when that child doesn't get the relationship or the nourishment, I should say, it needs from that parent, from that parental structure, they won't be as productive as a person, as confident, um, as outgoing as other people. And with that being true with humans, and you can look it up, I've looked it up, I've watched videos on it, like there's a difference between children who have that relationship with their parents when they're really, really young, who get that affection and the love that children need versus children that don't. And to bridge this gap, that's what you get with Frankenstein and the monster. As soon as this monster is born, he is rejected by his creator. And so he runs away and he tries to seek out companionship in the rest of the world. And later in the book, you see him kind of trying to work this out and understanding, like, if my creator can't love me, if my creator is afraid of me, if my creator thinks I'm hideous, I mean, how else will the rest of the world see me? How can I expect to be accepted by the rest of the world? And the monster, he is thought of as a monster and evil and every bad word that you could associate with a being, just because of the way he looks, because he doesn't look like normal humans, because he's bigger, he's his features, I mean, his whole demonstration is compiled of rotted corpses. So you can imagine he, you know, looks a little scary. And societally, people don't accept that. You see it in the story that when he comes across human beings, they are afraid of him and automatically they think that he's a monster, when really he is a sentient being with very complex thoughts and emotions. He's very intelligent. He's very articulate. Um, he he was able to learn everything he knew. He essentially learned on his own. And if people would have given him the chance, he could have thrived in society. Honestly, I think, based off of reading this book as many times as I have, I still always feel really sympathetic for the monster. And even if he wasn't accepted in society as a whole, if Frankenstein had only accepted him, things could have ended up totally different. He wasn't a monster and he was very misunderstood. People didn't give him a chance because they were judging a book by its cover. Um, and he was very kind as well. He had a very kind heart, and he was, and if he had used his strengths, being as large as he was, as fast as he was, like, way stronger than any human being could ever be. I mean, he could have used his power and his greatness for so much good in society, and he had in the story, but being rejected so many times, just like a regular person, they can only take so much rejection before they're like, hey, dude, hey, I don't like this. So it, this, this book is just, I love it so much, and I feel for the monster. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that he's never given a name. He's only ever called the monster, when really he, in my opinion, he wasn't a monster. I think he was a representation of what any of us could become when we lack the things that human beings need, when we lack the connection and the relationships and the acceptance that at our core all humans need. And so I hope that I was able to kind of talk about this book that I love so much, because it's one of those things where when you love something, you all of a sudden, like, I don't know, lose all intelligence. That happens when I find that happens for me when I'm talking about something that I love, something that impacted me, something that I'm going to remember my whole life, and books that I'm just going to reread and reread and reread, because this book is a masterpiece. And so I hope I did it justice. Um, but I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good evening. Most importantly, I hope you read a good book, and I'll see you when I see you.